Welcome to the Glen Merzer Show, where we talk all things vegan. If you're not already vegan, no worries, we'll get you there. If you are, tune in for health advice, information on climate change, and all the damage done by our most destructive industry, animal agriculture. We'll also talk cooking, theater, film, and culture. My 2 reasons for starting this podcast: to entertain, to inform, and to make people vegan. Oh, that's 3. Shit. Welcome to the Glen Merzer Show. You could find us across all your favorite podcast platforms. You could find us on YouTube. And please remember to subscribe. And you could find us at realmeneatplants.com. My guest today, I've just met. Her name is Vicki Brett-Gach. She is a master vegan lifestyle coach. She's author of the Plant-Based for Life Cookbook, which you could find both on Amazon and at her website, which is AnnArborVeganKitchen.com. Vicki, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Glenn. I'm so happy to be with you today.
Nice to meet you. Do we have a lot of vegans in Ann Arbor? It's a college town.
I would say we do. And it is a very nice time to be vegan and to learn to be vegan if you aren't already. And yes, it's definitely a growing community.
Okay. Now, are the college students today, in your opinion, as vegetarian and vegan interested as they were, 20 or 30 years ago?
I think that's a great question. And to be honest with you, I think there are more and more people that are interested for a variety of reasons, often related to the climate, not necessarily, health or a different reason, lots of times. But I also think that there are a lot of people who have a different idea of what makes sense to them. And it's a little scary because I think both being vegan and eating more animal products are both on the increase for some reason. And so, yeah, we've got some work to do.
Yeah, it seems like people are eating everything. More vegans and more meat eaters.
It does seem like that. Yeah.
Hard to figure it out. How long have you been vegan?
So my story is about 16 years old. I've been vegan for that amount of time. As soon as I read the China study, it was such a compelling story for me that I immediately gave up animal products. It took a little longer, maybe another year or so, to give up oil. I wasn't quite all the way on board at that point with that part of it. But over a year or two, it was a no-brainer for me to immediately immerse myself in as much plant foods as possible and to completely give up animal products.
And
I do have a family history of problems.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would say I was kind of on the front end of being a little bit proactive before, I don't have like a super dramatic story like many people do. Excuse me, but I did kind of see the writing on the wall with my family history. My mom was diabetic and had heart disease and kidney problems and high blood pressure, all kinds of things. So it did seem as though it kind of, it just immediately resonated to me, the connection between chronic disease and animal products.
Did your blood work improve, for example?
It did, although I didn't ever have like a problem, but I would say I was kind of on the border of high blood pressure, higher cholesterol, and immediately within weeks, those numbers were, really good numbers. So for me, it made sense. I dropped 10 pounds that I'd kind of given up hope on after my kids were born. I just couldn't get rid of it. Naturally dropped when without really trying, because just eating this way, you get abundant food, you're getting plenty of satisfying nutrition, and you don't have to, I used to count calories and to no avail. And I lost that last 10 pounds without trying. So,
well, speaking of your kids, how do they feel about mom's diet?
They are, I will say that they were teenagers when I made the shift from eating, other things. And it was a little bit hard. It was a transition period for them. Now my daughter is completely vegan, and my son, I will say he is not, but he definitely has respect for this way of eating. And when he visits us, he eats whatever I've made, and my husband as well. And so, Yeah, it's kind of, I will say that for people who have a mixed family like I have had along the way, it can be a little more challenging, but it is not, it should not get in the way of living your truth and doing what you know makes sense and modeling what you know is best for them. And I think kids tend to grow up kind of like rebelling in some way against whatever their parents do. And I thought if I have one thing for them to complain about, it's that mom eats too healthy. And so
Uh-huh.
that's where I decided to go.
So the women in the family are vegan and the men not yet? Is that the case?
I will say my husband is almost entirely vegan. He's
Good.
vegan 5 or 6 days a week.
Okay.
He cannot finish that last bit, but he's working on it and he knows it's a good idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you're going to do some cooking for us today, huh?
Yes, I'm going to actually prepare a couple of very, very easy, almost just assembly kind of recipes that do not require much prep or ingredients or anything super special. They're very fast, but they're very nourishing and a nice way to get all of this great fiber and phytonutrients into our diet. So the first thing I'm going to make for you is a homemade hummus sandwich. And so I'm going to first create a homemade hummus, of course. And that's very easy to do. Of course, you can buy hummus and there's nothing wrong with that. And you could start with a store-bought hummus and take it to the next level with what I'm adding to it if you wanted to. But I find homemade hummus is such a nice way to control your favorite flavors. So if you don't like a lot of garlic or you prefer to have one like I do without any oil added, it's just easier to make it at home. You can even freeze it. So we're going to start with a homemade one. And so I'm adding to my food processor. That's an important piece of equipment for this recipe. Just a can of rinsed chickpeas. I like to make my own in a pressure cooker, but today I didn't have any on hand. I always make sure I have some canned beans in my pantry because although I like homemade even better, it's just a great shortcut to have them on hand and be able to start to make pretty much any recipe, with a variety of canned beans. So now to that, I'm adding a little water. I'm adding some tahini. These recipes, by the way, are on my website. And this one
All
is called a
right. And the
homemade,
website again is
is
AnnArborVeganKitchen.com.
that is right. And this is my homemade hummus salad sandwich. So we are now adding our tahini, some lemon juice, and some spices. And I'm going to make a little noise with the food processor and turn my toaster on to toast our English muffin, our Ezekiel English muffin that we're going to put our sandwich on. So here we go.
Mhm. I don't hear anything.
Can you hear me talk over this?
I can hear you a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. But somehow I'm not hearing that food processor at all.
So I'm going to check on it, and this doesn't take very long, but I do give it a couple of minutes because we really want this nice and creamy. It looks like it's pretty close, but we'll just maybe give it another couple of spins.
An advantage to making it at home is that usually the store-bought hummuses will have oil.
Right. So we're going to call this done. And at home, you could, keep spinning this as long as you like. But we have a nice consistency of a nice homemade hummus. And this is so nice to have on hand for all kinds of reasons. It doesn't have to be a meal as we're turning it into today. It's a great snack to just dip vegetables in or have on crackers, rice cakes, whatever you might like. And it also makes a great appetizer if you're hosting. So I'm just going to give this a stir. I took the blade out just to be safe here. And our spices, by the way, I added a little bit of salt and pepper, which of course, if you don't use salt, you could leave that out. And a little dash of cayenne pepper, a dash of za'atar seasoning, which I really like. It adds a little lemony flavor to this. And a dash of a Cajun or Creole spice. Again, it's just, I like a little bite of a little bit of chili in it, but you, of course, can create whatever you like. And now we've got this beautiful, creamy hummus. This is how easy this is. This is how fast it is. It's faster than going to the store to buy hummus. We're going to add some chopped up fresh vegetables. This is a cup each of celery, chopped red bell pepper, and shredded purple cabbage. And I like this kind of thinly sliced. Again, think of this as kind of a template because you could add any combination of vegetables that you like here. It could be, a different colored bell pepper. It could be some jalapeno. It could be cucumber, whatever you like. And I'm just giving this a spin now with my spatula. And then I'm adding a little bit of cilantro. You could add a little cilantro or pepper, or rather parsley if you want to. If people don't like cilantro in your family, you could use parsley. It's a great substitute. I'm just stirring that in. I do love cilantro, and I love the green color that it adds.
Cilantro is controversial. Some people love it, some people hate it.
That is right. I love it. I can't get enough of it. So now we've got this creamy mixture, and I'll just grab our toast here. And what I've done is just toasted 1/2 of an English muffin, an Ezekiel English muffin. So it's all these lovely whole grains. And now we're just going to spoon some of this delicious salad, creamy salad on top. It kind of reminds me of the old days when I used to eat like a tuna sandwich or something like that. This has that same creaminess that people who miss those other kind of flavors can get. And it's a really nice portable sandwich to take with you, on the go or to the office, on a plane, something like that. So this is a very easy lunch. And of course, this hummus will stay really yummy in the refrigerator for several days. So that's our first recipe. And it's what I love about this is that combination of the creaminess with the crunch. And of course, if you don't want to bother with these vegetables, just the hummus by itself is great. You could top it with lettuce or sliced cucumber, onion, or whatever you might like. So
the great thing is how many vegetables you get into that sandwich.
Well, I love that you get a lot of vegetables here, but I also love the colors because, it just makes it so enticing, I think. It's the kind of lunch you can't wait to get to. And I also like this with a cup of soup or something like that if you have made some lentil soup or a different kind of soup. So I'm going to set this aside here for a moment, and we're going to make our next recipe. And the next one is another really easy one, just like this. And you're going to see the repeated theme of these cooked with crunchy fresh vegetables combined. So I'm just going to move this over here. And I roasted today, just before we came on, potatoes. And you could do all sweet potatoes.
Like, is that two russet and a sweet potato?
That's exactly right. And sometimes I do all sweet potatoes. Today I decided to do a mixture. So whatever your family likes. And these are really nice and large, which I like because it really kind of turns it into an immediate meal. So we've got this, what I did was I scrubbed them very well and baked them at 400 for about an hour and 10 minutes because they were so large, but you could start checking at 50 minutes or so. I just use a roasting pan because in case your sweet potato leaks a little bit after you've poked it, with a little bit of those sweet juices that come out, you don't have any problem on the bottom of your oven with that burning. So I like to do it that way. And so now I'm just putting these on a platter to prepare. And we're just going to basically assemble some ingredients. So what I'm doing here is with a knife, splitting them in half. This is a super, super easy meal to make. Literally could be on the table in just minutes as soon as you've got these potatoes prepared. You could even make these potatoes ahead and have them waiting for you in the refrigerator to rewarm. So we've got our potatoes. With a fork, I'm just going to mash them just a little bit. This is how, easy it is. This could be easily 3 to 6 meals, depending on, someone's appetite. And you could make as many as you like. So you could make 8 potatoes at a time or just 2 or whatever you might like. I'm going to add a little bit of salt and pepper. to these. Again, you could leave that off if you wanted to. And then we're going to assemble. We've got 3 different kinds of things we're putting on here. The first one is sauteed greens. So I've got a pan full of...
You just happen to have some.
Yes. I just got this ready ahead, but it took literally just a few minutes. I would say maybe 10 minutes. And here's what it is. And again, this recipe is on my website as well. This is roasted sweet potatoes with sauteed greens, spiced beans, and a raw crunch. So our greens is just frozen spinach. So I have 2 packages of frozen spinach plus a shallot. If you don't have a shallot, you could use a small onion. What I do is cut up the shallot, mince it, and put it into a dry pan, cover it with frozen spinach or kale, any vegetable you want. It does not have to be spinach. I've done this with cauliflower, with rice cauliflower, with broccoli, with a combination. I just take 2 packages of frozen vegetables, put them right over the raw shallot. So they're not even thawed. And I just cook this on a medium-high heat until the greens, your spinach, starts to thaw. And in about the same amount of time it takes to thaw and allow that moisture to evaporate, the onion or the shallot is cooked. And so that's what we've got here is just our sauteed greens. And this makes a lot of nice greens too. So enough for this meal plus some extra. And so I love to have extras of any ingredient I have on hand because you can always use it somewhere. So I'm just adding some beautiful sauteed spinach to our potatoes. And this is a meal right here, right? Because just greens and potatoes, you're all set. But we're going to keep going.
That's a very filling meal.
It really is. And so we're already off to a nice start.
Yes.
And so to this now, we're going to add some beans. Now this time, again, it could be any kind of bean. This could be a template too. You could use whatever you have on hand. It could be navy beans, black beans, lentils. I have today a can of a tri-bean blend, 3 different kinds of beans. So this is pinto beans, black beans, and kidney beans. See if it can get the light there. And to this, so this is just a can of beans, any kind you want, with a half a cup of salsa. That's all this is. And so we have some spicy beans now. I just heated it, and we're going to top with some beans. If you don't want to use all your beans, you can use this somewhere else. And to this now, we're going to add some toppings. And again, you could stop right here. Your beans and greens and potatoes, perfect meal. But we're going to keep going. So now we're going to add a little bit of our same idea of these same crunchy vegetables on top. The crunch is so good with the cooked. And if you eat in an oil-free manner, as I do, that crunch is something we kind of crave. And so I really just love that crispy combination with the creamy, delicious potatoes and beans. So we're putting our red peppers on top, a little bit of beautiful shredded red cabbage, and topping with cilantro. And that is it.
Well, I think you should share that with your husband because that's a lot of food.
I know, it's really heavy. It's really a lot of food. And so this is such a nice thing to come home to after a long day of work. You've already got this ready. All you have to do is warm it up. And again, if you had some handy, lentil soup or tomato soup that you've made on hand, it makes a really lovely dinner. And for that matter, you could combine your sandwich and half of a potato if you wanted to, and or a green salad with this. And in just these 2 recipes, which we've put together in just a few minutes, really, you've got about almost 20 different plant-based foods. I didn't even count the spices, but we've got lots of, if we're trying to get 30 different plant-based foods, as many of us try to within our week, you've got about 20 right here.
Well, there you go, because the USDA geniuses who put out the food plate that they used to call the food pyramid, they advise that we try to get 5 to 7 servings of fruits and vegetables per day, as I recall.
Yeah.
That's pitifully low. We can do
Yeah. And
better
most
than that.
people aren't, and most people don't even do
And
that.
most people do like one or two.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
It really
So,
is incredible. And, the truth is, as you know, once you start eating this kind of abundant, colorful, flavorful, plant-based foods, you start craving these foods. This is what
right.
your palate changes, your microbiome changes. This becomes the food that you're looking for. And you're no longer looking for those ultra processed, foods that you get in the frozen section of the, pre-made meals in the grocery store, restaurants, or anywhere else.
Yeah.
This is the kind of food you're looking for. This is
Yeah.
what is our fuel. It's what we're meant to eat.
Yeah. Speaking of restaurants, I remember going to a restaurant in Ann Arbor called Siva, I think.
Yes, yes.
That's a vegan restaurant, isn't it?
It's a vegetarian restaurant. It's
Vegetarian
vegan.
restaurant.
Yeah, it's a vegan friendly restaurant. They do have
Yeah.
a lot of vegan restaurant or a lot of menu items that are
It,
vegan, and
it,
they're
it
only
was,
about a mile or two from me.
yeah, it was good. Do you go there sometimes?
We do. I will be honest with you, we do not go out to eat that often, but every once in a while for someone's occasion, a special occasion or something, we do. And
Yeah.
it's nice to have things like that handy. But I like to eat at home because you can
Yeah.
control everything that you're eating. So, um,
Why go out when you have food like that at home?
yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Vicki, for this food demonstration, cooking demonstration.
Absolutely.
And the book again is the Plant-Based for Life Cookbook. And I like that title because what it means is you make this commitment to this diet and you don't change,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. This is what helps give us life, I think, is foods like this. And it's these are all easy recipes, the same kind of things you're seeing here. Over 100 recipes I have in this book, and each one has a photograph that I took of these
Oh, so
items
you're the
that
photographer as well.
I am. And many of these recipes are on my blog, AnnArborVeganKitchen.com. But in the cookbook, everything's all together with many of my favorites. And, you know, all of them, if there's kind of a theme, it's that they're easy. And so you'll
Yeah.
find the same kind of easy combinations of flavors in here.
And you do coaching as well, right?
Yes, I actually do. I'm a master vegan lifestyle coach. I've gone through Victoria Moran's program 3
Hmm.
times, um, Main Street Vegan Academy. And I've been coaching people for about 11 years now, actually, across the country, helping people often entirely reverse chronic illnesses through food. And so it's always so exciting to help people who are, choosing to become plant-based. And I work with people who aren't ready to be all the way plant-based. They just want to add more plants to their life. I can help people with that as well. But many people who are ready to go all the way in and just need help figuring out how to do that. So yes, I'm excited it's one of my favorite things to be able to help people do that.
Oh, that's great. So again, folks, go to the website AnnArborVeganKitchen.com. Vicki, thank you for joining us today. We'll put links to the website and the book in the show notes.
Lovely. Thank you so much for having me.
Bye-bye. This has been the Glen Merzer Show, where everyone listening turns vegan, regains their health, and annoys their friends and relatives. Find us on YouTube at The Glen Merzer Show and across all your major podcast platforms. Don't forget to subscribe.